Destination Newry, it's the morning programme. Good morning, Newry and Mourne in the world, and I'm in the company of Graham Finnegan. How are you, Graham?
Good morning, Rowan. How's it going?
I'm very, very well. One of Newry's key business people over in the creamery sector.
The Creamery Quarter, that's right.
That's the Creamery Quarter going across Monaghan Street there, from the bridge at the lights at Grounded all the way across to the end of Monaghan Street at the roundabout. That's the Creamery Quarter. And we're being joined in the programme as well this morning by Declan McChesney of Cattle Brothers in Hill Street. Reason for the two businessmen in is to look in the week of the elections just what we can get from it and what our politicians should be bringing to the table. We've been very, very difficult to escape them. They've been everywhere.
They've been everywhere, yeah.
They've been everywhere. Has it impacted much on your psyche over the lead into the whole business?
Well, you know, it's on the whenever we're chatting to the local politicians on a daily basis, whether it's in the shop as customers or whether it's at different meetings that we sort of attend, you're sort of just looking to see what they're going to do, and obviously with this the new amalgamation from the smaller 11 council
to the bigger one,
to the super councils, you're wondering, like, you know, what's it going to mean for Newry? And that's over the last few weeks. That's what I've been looking at and sort of trying to sort of see where we're going to be saving money, or alternatively, are we not going to be saving money?
You don't have a track record of needing anyone to do anything for you because you have built Grounded on your own.
Well, you know, I would be of the inclination that if you wanted to try to do something, you go and do it. You know, I would rather spend time actually working at something and trying to do it rather than filling out forms or sort of, you know, trying to get people's permission more or less. You know,
very often it's easier to say sorry than please may I.
Exactly.
And you just get on with it.
That's what they
but
say.
your work, you know, the area is being transformed. We have funding coming soon for the Cathedral Corridor in Newry. We have all kinds of new sculpture going to be on the public realm walkway by the canal. All of that's coming into focus. And Newry seems to be, at this time of political change, seems to be on the up.
Well, I think it's high time it was on the up. You know, I think, you know, the local press would report regularly about how Newry has been left behind, and with regards to sort of funding from other bodies, you know, with the likes of Derry, Belfast, and Newry just seems to be sort of, we've had that culture all the time of sort of making do and doing it ourselves. But I think it's time that sort of the local politicians step up to the plate now and sort of, you know, put some substance in there in the words that they would say.
There are two elections, one for local government here in Northern Ireland, the other for the European Parliament. And the broad sweep of argument in the European Parliament election is whether we should be in there at all, and maybe we'd be better out of it. Where are you on that?
Well, you know, obviously, again, I'm probably like most of the public. You seem sort of a bit detached from that sort of side of the election. But with regards to the European Union and everything, you know, I see it as sort of just a big, massive. You know, it's a duplication of bureaucracy. In fact, it's maybe more excessive bureaucracy.
But I see Graham Finnegan more as a universal, more as a European than as an introspective islander. I see you reaching out all the time.
Well, you know, you can look out and you can sort of take different sort of influences from different places, but I like the not solitary island, but the island sort of approach. And I think, you know, I'm just not. I wouldn't be in depth about it, Rowan, and I wouldn't think. But you know.
Well, one of the things that came about this morning, I just caught it in a news bulletin from the BBC this morning, and this maybe sums up the part of a nonsense that can be Europe, and it's the French train operator SNCF. It's discovered that 2,000 new trains it ordered at a cost of 15 billion euro are too wide for the platforms of France.
Well, see, you know, this is it. Well, this is it when you come down when you're European elections and when you're local elections. It comes down to competency, Rowan.
Yeah.
You know, and if we're voting for people who are incompetent, well, then what's going to result in is it's going to be a garbage out, garbage in, garbage out. And
hold that thought, because we're going to play us a piece of music and introduce another colleague from the world of business from the Cathedral Quarter. That will give us the Creamery Quarter and the Cathedral Quarter. Some music, Andrew, please. Welcome. Good to see you. Destination Newry, it's the morning programme. Good morning, Newry and morning in the world out there. We're shooting the breeze this morning on election time. Tomorrow is the day of the vote for the European Parliament and for the local government councils across Northern Ireland. We're joined by Graham Finnegan of Grounded in Newry. We're joined by Declan McChesney of Cahill Brothers in Newry. We've pushed the boat out a wee bit already, and we're just slightly worried about the European bureaucracy thing. We're wondering about what we get out of Europe and what we want politics to do for business. Have you a view on that, Declan?
Well, you know, I suppose by the end of this interview, it's going to be, you're going to regret having asked me over, because I suppose I carry in my pocket a nice big bucket of anarchy.
I love that.
I have very little.
I go for anarchy.
I have very little respect for 99% of politicians. In fact,
but you'll be voting tomorrow.
oh, I would always vote. I'm going to use it.
Well, I'm not voting.
Well, I'm going to use it because nobody else is going to use it.
No, well, nobody can use mine.
Last night, I, without ceremony, shooed. I live in the country, and the party who no longer into the tent are now in the tent.
Oh, yes.
Out of the tent.
Yeah.
I shooed them from my door.
Yeah.
And the look of amazement on their face when their South American superstar who was with them.
Aye. Go now.
Yeah. Notwithstanding the fact, some beautiful chestnut mushrooms with a little bit of butter and the tiniest wee bit of salt
waiting inside
was on the
for
pan
you.
with the most gorgeous wee glass of Bordeaux. Now,
You were saying you're on a wine diet. You've lost 2 weeks already.
Yeah, that's right.
Graham, you take us back to the your quarter of the town. This man is from the Cathedral quarter. You, the Creamery quarter. How will a new and invigorated council? How will you hope it will benefit the Creamery quarter?
Well, I sort of hope to. I like to think that it's, you know, they're going to be more responsive to what we need as the public in the area. I think one of the points of this whole creation of the super council is to make the councillors more, you know, they're responsible for more. So hopefully they'll be more accountable for it. Yeah. You know, so instead of them being able to pass it off to some council official in the offices, they'll be able to actually stand up.
Have you not seen, either of you seen in the past, that if you are determined and make your demands and you do it and you don't let them off the hook, that they will respond? Well,
this is another thing, you know, but you can complain about people all the time. Like, for example, we complain about things all the time, but I think the people who are complaining to get to hear it, Declan, you know, and for the public, it's up to them to sort of to lobby their councillor and to sort of, you know, the issues that they want on the table, it's important for them to, you know, to instruct their councillor to do that.
What about the power base of these fellows, the new councillors? Have they got power to do anything?
I think we have to understand.
I think planning is coming back to them. I think.
But what you have to understand is that if we take it that the big slice of bread, or the big loaf of bread, is sitting there on the table, the central government politicians get to slice it up, and they then pass some of the crumbs onto the council, and they then have basically got a certain amount of money that they can spend. Now, that is a flaw if you match it with the fact that there are elections every up to 5 years. So basically, if you're a politician, you know, and this is where anarchy comes in, if you're a politician, you know, you've got to go back into your area and say, look what I've done for you.
Well, you did that over parking. You did it with Danny Kennedy. You demanded he come here. And once upon a time on Hill Street, the political institutions were going to take you to court over a banner that you put up to say Hill Street is now open again.
Well, you see, we had to put that up because central government, through the road service, did their very best to close down Monaghan Street and Hill Street in an example of the greatest construction ineptitude I have ever seen. They just completely ruined business for us. So Mick Downey and myself and Jared Rice of Around a Pound and Jack Murphy, we got together, we put up a banner, simple message, Hill Street is open. And some little bureaucratic tiger from instructions threatened to take us to court. And
did you know about this, Greg?
I did, yeah.
The thing was that there's always a positive lesson learned, Ron, and the fact was that Jack was away, Jerry was away, and Mick says, look, we'll roll with it, sure, we'll just go to court. And I went, no, I'm not going to take that from them. Social media, boom, I put it up on Facebook that night. And even my daughter said to me, don't do it, Dad, don't do it, don't do it.
Yeah, yeah.
And put it up on Facebook, and the next morning had 1,000 hits.
Yeah.
The next
But
morning.
to Kennedy's credit, he
No,
Volfast.
not Kennedy, not
I
Kennedy.
thought it was Kennedy. Did
No, it was Alex Atwood, I think, that phoned
Well,
me.
at the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 No, Kennedy's party.
That's right. That's right. I
Yeah.
remember that. Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that.
It's education, not clarification.
I know that. I know that. Well, sure. I'm here as a willing recipient
A sponge.
of your
a sponge
goodness.
to soak up my knowledge.
If I didn't know this fellow as long as I've known him, there would be trouble. I tell you. Listen,
But that
actually was
is the crux
resolved.
of the matter, Rowan, because we are
Yeah.
around so long. The inspiration of politic and aspiration of politicians is something that cynicism has developed over the years with us. Because really, we have seen relentlessly, what I have to say is the ineptitude of politicians. And further to this thing about the crumbs from the table, some of the things that they have done around Newry to make Newry work is appalling. And no matter what anybody says to me, and yes, I'm the longest standing person in the Cathedral Quarter, and while you may depend on the politicians in the Creamery Quarter, we have God on our side. We're in the Cathedral, and we hope he's going to come for us. But no, what I'm saying is that if they make a mistake in Birmingham, and they make a mistake in Leeds, and in Nottingham, and in Coleraine, and in Belfast, does that mean they then have to make the same mistake in Newry? It seems so.
Yeah.
They took away, yes, the beautiful walkway, which, as you have so observantly noticed, the work has stopped. They took away 120 car parking spaces. And
Well, this is you prioritising smoke and vehicles and bad environmental practice
No,
over
no.
people.
No. The walkways, what they should have done is they should have left the parallel parking spaces there, only those, removed some of them, and opened up that for people to come along with their children and walk along that lovely view of the canal. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have put some of the walkway. They should not have taken away all that parking.
But
because
state of the art at the moment, Declan, think about it, is out-of-town parking with proper tram connections into the town. Why aren't we hitching our wagon to that particular star?
because the tram connections don't exist.
No, but I'm saying we build them, we get them.
Well,
we
why
were
don't
going to
you
do it
build-
at the basin when
Well-
we were going to take a tram through from South Armagh all the way to Kilkeel and back again, and that was a problem. That didn't emerge.
I remember we used to say, do it backwards so the sparks won't blind you. And the thing about it is that if you take away the parking and then, in a wee while we start talking about putting the trams in, put the trams in, increase the public transport. I live beyond Warren Point. My kids could not get in and out because the buses stopped. There is no public transport.
I know, but if you look at what's happening in parking in Newry, it's not good. It's chocker-block all the time. And you're inviting more cars in. Surely we need to get those cars out of the town and assist them. The bikes of Dublin, for example, where people pick the bike up and go in. A public transport system that works, but get rid of the cars. And the walkway at the side of the canal was a start in that direction.
Appalling naivety on your part, Mr. Hand.
No, I'm aspirational. I want
No,
it to
you're
happen.
not. You're not
If you
even
don't have
inspirational at
if
the
you don't
moment.
have an aspiration that the thing can be wonderful, then you may as well wrap it up. You're always complaining.
No,
people
but I
will
would
say.
leave the parational out of it, just an ass. I can
He
tell
can
you.
be enormously offensive, you know.
Only if I try.
The Merchants Key scheme, we're very dependent upon people being able to come in for 5 or 10 minutes, and I think the benefits of the Merchant Key scheme sort of outweighs the negatives for me. And even sitting over and grounded, for a wee coffee, and it's nice to be able to see the water. Albeit you could have seen the water, well you couldn't have if there had been parking spaces there. You wouldn't have been able to see the water. So the aesthetic nature of the scheme would have been completely lost. But we do need car parking spaces, but it would be great if people walked and just had a wee dander and a walk. Functional. There needs to be more parking provision in Newry, and I think with the super councils, I think, fortunately or unfortunately, whichever whoever's going to take it up, the council's going to be in control of off-street parking, isn't that right?
Yeah.
So, that could be a way. At the minute in Newry town centre, you're sort of, everybody's really against the parking, and it's a bit of a nightmare in that there's no leeway, if you're a minute over or whatever. So hopefully if the council takes it over, there will be a bit more sort of, it'll be a softer approach.
Declan, the one thing they will have control over is the rates you pay. You're not well done by politicians in this area of rates, because you're charged a fortune, and what do you get?
Well, okay, we have all the services that we get, and this morning I was dropping the cardboard from my shop off to the reclamation site in Warren Point, and they're wonderful. Those things are great, and I just love the fact they exist, and all the other things that exist. But, I mean, I have some major gripes. A leading industrialist in this area was very, very sadly killed in an accident recently.
Yeah.
And there was no chain-bearing members of the council at the funeral of that huge local employer. Now, anybody who knows me will know that I live beside Lord Ballyedmond, and we had territorial issues, but as an employer and as an ambassador for Newry, he was second to none.
Yeah,
And
true.
there was
Generations
no
of
one there
employment
to
there.
show respect. And when I brought this up, I was told in no uncertain terms, yes, they were unavailable. So I inquired.
Unavailable?
Yeah. They were in Russia. Shortly after Russia annexed the Crimea in an absolute threat to world peace and to civil rights, our council saw fit to head off to Kirov.
Yeah.
En masse.
But I think, obviously,
At our expense.
they couldn't have foreseen either
No.
Crimea thing, nor could they have seen
the Crimea thing had happened.
Neither could they have foreseen the accident.
The Crimea thing had happened.
But I wondered, could it
my
be
point- Yeah, sorry, Rob.
unavailable or uninvited? Maybe that was something that was controlled by the family.
No, there was no such thing as invitations. How naive of you again. I'm gonna
No,
have to take you out the back.
invitations to certain people, certain groups.
Expectation. I would have expected my elected representatives to have shown some deal of respect. Yes, the available paid officers went along, but not high enough of the elected officers went. It was a disgrace for Newry. A disgrace, an absolute disgrace. And not to put too fine a point on it, I'm saying that, and someone who had personal issues there.
Yeah, and at the same time, they've an opportunity to make amends, because the service of commemoration of Lord Ballyedmond is taking place in London very, very soon, and they can still win it back by sending the mayor over, and if it's done in time, that could happen.
Yeah. My mother always told me to do the right thing.
Yes.
And if you do the right thing at the time, it's great. And if you don't do the right thing, you have to spend so much, be it time or emotion, or in some cases money.
I think,
So
I
we're going to
understand
send
this.
them over and fly them over.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I mean, we don't have anyone from the council here to say exactly why the mayor wasn't there.
Well,
we would, in fairness to the councillors, we would need that before we can roundly castigate
Well, okay,
them.
I'm just putting it out there. No one has ever replied to me. Now, on the other thing is we're also matched with Ennis and County Clare. And then they all go off to this, what we call the council matchmaking session down there. And they all go down, and the payment per mile for councillors travelling is far higher than any civil servant gets who's about their duty. But they head off, now, they all head off in their single cars. Not all the councillors in the one car, but they all go, theoretically, in single cars and claim that massive mileage allowance. Now, if Graham and I and Orla from the Chamber and all that are going up to Stormont to do something for Newry, we all pile in to the one car, or Orla sits in the bar of my bike and you sit on the carrier.
Well, maybe you
and we
do.
cycle up.
Maybe you do, because you're entitled as a successful business person in this town, and being an ambassador for the town, you're entitled to have the comfort of your own space. He may not be able to put up with you for the journey from Newry to Belfast.
Road,
No,
you're very witty.
what I am saying is, if you're a public representative, personal issues should not come into it. but financial issues should be at the foremost, giving good example and good practice. We don't get that.
Councillors would argue that the amount of money that they get for doing the job of being councillors up in Monaghan Row is a sparse enough amount. It's not a fortune, and they put a lot of work in to get that. So they have a case there. And it's true, they don't get 20,000 a year. They don't get 14,000 a year. If they do, that's the height of it, you know.
I think,
Graham?
you know, I've been to meetings and the councillors come in and, you know, there's a couple of them come in and they sit down to get a wee sandwich and a cup of tea and to do the thing, and they feel obliged then to put some sort of stick and oar in. That could be legible, it could be illegible. But you know, most of the councillors as well, it's like every politician and it's like the MPs in Westminster as well, who are in the press recently about, you know, focusing more on their actual careers rather than their politics. You know, I think Westminster sits for, I think they've 234 days off this year. You know,
you wouldn't be in business, either of you, if you were taking that number of days.
No, you wouldn't.
Off
Well, that's it. You wouldn't do that. But you know, the politics, you know, and I know, you know, they might get phone calls. They would get phone calls. I suppose they're available 24 hours. Their mobile numbers out there and everything. But you know, there is a good proportion of them who have got, you know, jobs and enterprise as well as that. And you know, and I think whenever, you know, there would need to be a decision made. Well, if you pay these guys a living wage, and
that's what they do, to the exclusion of everything else.
You know, but obviously then you're in fear of creating a career politician who's essentially just sort of...
But should we, Declan, should we be looking at a whole new structure of funding for the councillors? Take them seriously and make them apply for the jobs that they get up there. Well, they do through the electoral process, of course. But create a salary structure that requires them to behave in a certain way once they're in there. Has the time to become for a radical shake-up in the thing?
Well, the thing another one of the things that's always appalled me about council is within council there are committees, and you hear of various councillors sitting on various committees, and they are rewards. They're not talent-based. And some of the representatives of certain committees that I have had to do business with, it would be the Grand Canyon of ineptitude. That it just, they have no understanding of the concept. You see, there is one very real truth in all of this, is we get what we vote for. And people vote on party lines rather and more than individual lines, and there are a very small amount in my mind, of councillors out there who have talent. Now there is a young brood coming along who are very.
But isn't the thing tomorrow, the business of voting, that's never talent-based. You know, that's always reward. If you're in the party, if you're there, if you put yourself forward, if you tell enough stories, you'll be elected. You're not being elected into the council because of your talent. So if you're not elected because of your talent,
again,
how are you elected onto a committee with talent?
There are young guys out there now, and young girls, don't get me wrong. Guys is a generic term for me. Who are very good at what they're doing, and are out there working to meet people, working to do things, and working in social media. And I'm quite impressed by some of the young guys because they're listening. And if those guys could, I mean, there was one young guy who was going to resign over a moral issue. And if he had resigned, the issue that he's taken the moral stand on is in fact now being investigated. But if he had resigned, we would have lost a very inspiring young man in our area. He stayed. And may I assure you, I have no party affiliation. I am apolitical. But I admire people. I admire diligent and moral people. And I see very few of them.
Let's wind it up on a positive note, because you're both successful in what you do, and you're successful. No, well, you are. You're.
I do it for the love of the people.
You go from this town all across the island of Ireland, bringing your wares. And people as far as Bantry to Galway to Derry, they're all carrying your product.
Yeah.
So that's success. And you're successful, and you've created an amazing phenomenon of the coffee house at the end of Monaghan Street.
Can I just interject?
Yeah.
Graham brought the spirit of youth to Newry.
Yeah.
You know, I hate him because all of a sudden, we were the old men.
Yeah,
You
of
know?
course.
I remember that we're taking a photo shoot recently of some damn thing, and I just realised I have to step out of this and let Graham get in because I'm old. So I hate him.
Give us, each of you, give a final minute, if you would, minute and a half, of optimism for the 5-year term ahead of us of the council.
Well, obviously, with the creation of these new super councils, we're going to be more efficient and effective. I'd like to see that the services which have been promised, street cleaning, litter collection, dog control, there will be money for those things. I'd like to see the rates bills every single year, at very worst, stay the same with the savings, and I'd like to see the deficits that the two councils have at the minute get reduced so that we're not servicing debt constantly.
Okay.
I have a
Declan?
great belief that when this new super council comes along, that we have a great new chief executive at the head of it who is going to see to the betterment of our area rather than peace in the chamber. And in my mind, once you have a feeling of what's good for us as an area rather than what's good for peace in the chamber, we may achieve. I think that this could be the final chance we have to sweep away the cobwebs, the ineptitude, and the absolute inertia that exists up there, because people only looking after their patch is the wrong thing to do if you are having the honour of being elected by the people.
Okay, we wish you well in all the things you're trying to achieve. We wish the councillors, the aspirant councillors, good fortune in the votes tomorrow. And we ask you to do your best for the town and allow the flowering of the town's talent and the town's commercial prowess to continue developing as it started with you guys and others like you in the chamber and in the various outreaches across the area.